Well, I think I've now collected my bearings on what went on last Saturday.
Oh! It's a third! But Sheffield Wednesday, they're now ahead again, 3-2! Oh my god! Derby, I think, are going down. Oh my god, it's a penalty to Derby. Oh my gosh, Wycombe's stepping up for it. Very, very contentious penalty, I just saw it. Coventry 6-1 up as well, unbelievable. Wycombe, he scores! It's 3-3! It's 3-3! Oh my god!
What an unbelievable end to the season as per usual. And for the final time, let's go and talk about what went on in this weekend's games. What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. I don't know if you could tell by my voice, but I am not very well at the moment. But I'm still going to do this video for you guys today. I'm not going to post anything else until I'm feeling a lot better. And with your predictions, I'm actually not going to show the Leicester Hall of Fame and your correct scores until the midweek Premier League games are all done. And by Friday, I think you guys will be able to see an update to the Leicester's Hall of Fame and all of your correct scores. All I can tell you is that I've got 2 correct scores in the moment, which are actually 2 Premier League games. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It tremendously helps the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. As you noticed, quite recently we hit 500 subscribers, which is an unbelievable achievement. Got to thank you guys for getting me to that goal. Now it's time to push to 600, and then eventually but surely we get to 1,000 subs. And if you remember, 1,000 subs means I do a collaboration with BenHD. Please share this channel, it's how I'm going to grow in popularity. But without any further ado, let's go on and talk about the final 12 matches in the Championship 2020-21 season. So it started with Bournemouth and Stoke, and it ended 2-0 Stoke, and this definitely had an end of the season feel to this game. But I was really disappointed with Bournemouth. I knew they had a pretty weakened squad against Wycombe when they lost by 1-0, but they had a really strong squad, and I guess they had something to play for if they wanted to try and get 4th place in the table. And they did start all right. Philip Billing had a shot given to him by Danjuma, but it was well defended by Danny Bat. But apart from that, it was Stoke that I think would start to get the opportunities. Rabi Matondo looking such a bright future. If Stoke can tie him down and can definitely get him to play for next season, because I think he's on loan from Schalke at the moment, he can be an unbelievable signing for next season. But Stoke take the lead, and it's Will Forrester with the goal, a debut goal for him, and I'm so proud of him. It was Jordan Thompson with a corner, and Will Forrester won the header to make it 1-0 to Stoke. And it was Stoke who created the better chances and ultimately got the second goal. It was brilliant play. John Obi Mikel started it, giving me flashbacks of when he was back at Chelsea. Gave it to Sam Klukas with a perfectly timed pass to find Tommy Smith, running past the Bournemouth backline, which was pushed very high up the pitch. He finishes his 1-on-1 to make it 2-0 to Stoke. I've got to praise Stoke's efforts. They were terrific. As with Bournemouth, it's disappointing they finished 6th, which means they're going to have to play Brentford in the playoffs. And then we saw an unbelievable game going at Oakwell, a 2-2 draw between Barnsley and Norwich. It was a very good and even game, I felt. And I thought Norwich were actually going to run away with this one a little bit, following that they were going to be champions. But Barnsley, you've got to give them credit. They wanted something from this game. They saw the motivation of trying to finish higher up the top 6. And they got the lead as well. You've got to really praise Carlton Morris for winning the ball back as well. He then gave it to Cauley Woodrow to make it 1-0 to Barnsley. But Norwich responded very well, showing their quality. It was Emiliano Buendia that managed to get the equaliser. But just before half-time, Barnsley restored their lead with Connor Chaplin getting the goal from this time. Once again, fantastic build-up leading up to this goal. But Norwich do, once again, what they do best, recovering points from losing positions. And it was Adam Ida, actually, who got the equaliser. Someone who I didn't really see a lot of this season. But I'm glad for him he managed to get a final day goal for his part. This cued the celebrations for Norwich. They have won the championship with 97 points. So not quite 100 points, but it is more points than what they got last time they were promoted in the championship. I've got a bit more faith, if not hope, that Norwich could stay up in the Premier League. They just got to have the right approach moving forward. As with Barnsley, following their 5th place finish, they now play against Swansea in the playoffs. I tell you what, if we get a playoff final between Brentford and Barnsley, this is going to be an unbelievable climax to the championship. And then we go to the games that just rained goals. We had Blackburn 5, Birmingham 2. It was Adam Armstrong once again who was the hero in that game, scoring a hat-trick. And following the headlines, I think many people just overlooked that hat-trick. But if you looked at what he did, he was fantastic all game really. But it was Birmingham who actually took the lead, and it was Pedersen who actually took the lead. It was from a Kaminsky howler though. He just couldn't catch the ball, but Pedersen managed to follow up with a goal to make it 1-0 to Birmingham. And I thought this was going to be an interesting game, but Armstrong almost immediately scores a penalty to make it 1-1 to Blackburn. And then just before half-time, Blackburn take the lead. And it was Ben Brereton that managed to get the goal. But Birmingham start the second half very, very well. They get an equalising goal from Lukas Jukovic doing what he does best, winning a header. Kaminsky couldn't reach the ball to make it 2-2. But then Blackburn scored 3 goals in 14 minutes to finish them off. And in my opinion, Connor Trueman, who was in goal for Birmingham, made 2 complete howlers. Armstrong's second goal just squirmed under him to make it 3-2. Then it got to 4-2 when Harvey Elliott managed to score his final goal for his final game at Blackburn following his loan spell ending. And for Armstrong's hat-trick, yeah, you could argue another opportunity for Truman should do better with. And that is how the score ended 5-2. I think you should argue for the score they have to finish 15th, pretty disappointing. They're definitely going to have to try and get the right recruitment in for next season. If not, they can be in a lot of danger following the amount of quality they are going to lose over the summer. Adam Armstrong will definitely get interest as well. And then we see Brentford wrap up the championship with a 3-1 away victory to Bristol City. And once again, another highlight which I think got overshadowed by the dramatic events in the relegation battle. Ivan Toney scored his 31st championship goal, making him the championship top goal scorer in a single season ever. What an unbelievable achievement for Ivan Toney, considering it's his first championship season as well. He got the lead. Defensively, you could question Bristol City, but he won the ball just before Bentley to get enough of contact to get into the net to make it 1-0 to Brentford. And Brentford just went completely riot, especially in the later stages. Brian Mbeumo got the second goal. For me, the best goal that Brentford scored. For one-touch play in between the box to lead up to Brian Mbeumo was honestly incredible. If they can get that sort of quality in the playoffs, then I'd say Brentford will be strong favourites. Even Sergi Canos managed to get the goal to make it 3-0 to Brentford. But the highlight for Bristol City was Louis Britton getting his first senior goal for the club. So, to be fair, whilst Bristol City have been struggling, it's been great for Nigel Pearson that he's managed to see some quality players managing to step up and to actually get their first senior goals. We saw it last week with Tom Conway and now this week Louis Britton. The future looks bright for Bristol City as long as they can get the right balance of experience and youth of their squad. As for Brentford, they finished on 87 points. They've got to play against Bournemouth in the top 6. It won't be easy, but I do think with the performance I've been seeing from them recently, I say Brentford may have the edge over Bournemouth at the moment. And now we start off to one of the more dramatic games in the Championship. Cardiff 1, Rotherham 1. The stakes were high for Rotherham. They needed to win this game to give them a strong chance of survival. Anything else would have confirmed automatic relegation. And Lewis Wing did just that at the beginning of the game. What an unbelievable volley he did just outside the box. I know the saying that Lewis Wing doesn't score tap-ins, but that was ridiculous. The swerve on the volley, it was absolutely unbelievable. That made it 1-0 to Rotherham, and Rotherham were ahead for over 80 minutes. And they had so many chances as well. Matt Smith missed an open net where if he actually hit the target, it would have been 2-0 and game over. But Rotherham would feel bad for their missed chances. 17 attempts they had, 4 on target. Cardiff didn't nearly have as much opportunities. The only opportunity they had before they actually equalised was when they had a 3-on-2, but it was actually brilliantly defended by Rotherham. But unfortunately for them, in the 88th minute, Rotherham, who have been so strong at managing to keep the ball, just lose out. They can't win the challenge. And Marlon Pat from just outside the box has a clean strike unchallenged by Rotherham to make it 1-1. And when that goal went in, that is when Rotherham were doomed for relegation. If they held on with a 1-0 win, they would have survived in the Championship. Those fine margins is what really killed their season. So it's such a shame for Rotherham to be relegated in this way. I do hope they do go back up. As with Cardiff, they finished 8th place following this draw. Now, of course, had nothing to play for. I guess good on them to snatch and grab a point. And then to another goal-fest game, Coventry 6, Millwall 1. One of the more bizarre results I've ever seen in the Championship. A Millwall side conceding 6 goals. I mean, the defending in that game was... yeah, it was not great. And I can tell just Millwall their attitude, it really stank for me. Every time that Coventry looked like that they had an opportunity or Millwall gave the ball away, their players just kind of gave a sigh, looked dejected, looked like that they didn't care, and that's a really concerning sign, and I hope that sort of form and attitude doesn't continue on for next season. But the goals came in, Jordan Shipley starting things off, and Carl McFadden scoring in both ends of the pitch, which then made it 2-1. Other goal scorers included Dominic Hyam, Callum O'Hare, Matty James, and Tyler Walker in the 84th minute. I got to give credit to Coventry, and I think Mark Roberts has flown under the radar a little bit of being an underrated manager. Coventry went for this game and were actually probably sending a statement that they mean business next season. That as with Millwall, really poor, bizarre performance, you would imagine that this would probably just be an end of the season result and then they will start fresh again next season. And I think that's what will happen because this sort of result you don't see often with Millwall. And then to the game that everyone was glued to. Heck, not even Championship fans were watching this game. But it ended Derby 3, Sheffield Wednesday 3. And what this meant is that Derby survived by the skin of their teeth and had sent Sheffield Wednesday down rock bottom in the table as well. To think that one goal would have relegated Derby and saved Sheffield Wednesday. Just once again, the fine margins within this relegation battle were absolutely enthralling. Was this relegation battle as good as last year? Maybe as good, if not better, because the stakes were just so much higher, especially with the history that both these clubs had. To talk about the game, Derby started slow. I thought it was Sheffield Wednesday that did better on the ball, but Derby had the first big chance where Martin Wycombe looked like that he was going to score, but he collided against the post. He needed lengthy treatment. Following this, there was a long stoppage time, and using that long stoppage time, Sheffield Wednesday took the lead. It was a long throw by Patterson. Derby couldn't clear it, and it was Sam Hutchinson that managed to get a rebound after Kelly Roos made a fantastic save from Rowe. So that made it 1-0 going to half-time, and I feel like if that goal had not gone in, we would not have seen the amount of goals that we did in that second half. 5 goals in that second half. To start things off, Martin Wycombe equalises. Brilliant play by Tom Lawrence to find him to make it 1-1. And then Patrick Roberts makes it 2-1. Martin Wycombe passing it to him. Great individual run on his part and a great strike as well to make it 2-1. And then it got to 2-2 when Cannon Patterson was given an absolute gift. A howler by Craig Forsyth. His touch and his control was poor. That made it 2-2. And then Sheffield Wednesday took the lead. And it was a long looping ball, and it was collected by Shea Dunkley, who managed to head it to Junior Borner's head to make it 3-2 Sheffield Wednesday. And in that time, Sheffield Wednesday was safe, because right about that time, Rotherham had conceded against Cardiff. So for a brief moment, Sheffield Wednesday was safe, until they conceded a penalty. It was a double challenge by both the centre-halves on Josriak. I thought it was a bit contentious, but when I looked back, I think it was a penalty. Martin Wycombe stepped up and he scored, and after that equalising goal, it was then Derby who was safe for the first time in the afternoon, sending Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham down. Sheffield Wednesday now relegated to League One for the first time in 10 seasons now, being a very devastating season, and I thought it was going to be very tumultuous following their points deduction. For the fact they finished rock bottom, I think is even more surprising. But with Darren Moore, I like what he's doing. I think they have improved under him, so I do hope that Sheffield Wednesday can bounce straight back up. As with Derby, very lucky, got away with it. They're going to have to hope that next season then they can improve. And then we saw Wycombe with a very spirited performance despite getting relegated on the final day with a 3-0 victory over Middlesbrough. I mean, we talk about fine margins, but Wycombe needed 10 goals to try and survive. And actually, it would have been impossible for them to survive anyway, following that Derby managed to draw against Sheffield Wednesday as well. So a lot of things would have needed to go Wycombe's way to win, but they did all they can. And it was a brilliant performance, actually. Onyedin with the first goal, Ikpeazu does well to square the ball to him to make it 1-0. And Gary McCleary with the second, and even Jason McCarthy in the second half, getting the third goal. And I tell you what, it's 5 wins in 8 games for Wycombe. If they picked up their form sooner, then Wycombe would have easily survived, knowing that they were only 1 point off survival. Unbelievable season for Wycombe, honestly. They did themselves proud to finish 22nd place as well. Well done to them. As with Middlesbrough, likewise with Millwall, I think just an end of the season result. I don't think it does quite reflect on what their position is. They may have to consider trying to get some new transfers in for the fact that they've had a load of injuries this season. But I do think there's a lot of promising things going on in Middlesbrough. And then to a pretty meaningless game, Preston get a 2-1 victory over Nottingham Forest. Overall, it's a pretty close game actually. I'd say Nottingham Forest had the more intent in terms of possession, and they managed to get the lead following that ball control. It was James Garner actually with the goal, and it was a real struck goal actually to make it 1-0. The first goal that Preston conceded in 4 games actually, so Iverson was doing well keeping his clean sheet record as long as he did. But Preston completely turned the game around in the second half. Whatever Frankie McAvoy said, it completely worked. And even Tom Bayliss scored for Preston, a player I've not seen a lot of, but I was glad he was given some minutes for Preston in this game. He does well to get into the right place at the right time to score past Sama to make it 1-1. And then Liam Lindsay manages to make it 2-1 with a very, very powerful header. Following this win, it puts Preston to 13th place. Honestly, it's disappointing compared to last season, but a pretty good end to the season with all things considered. As with Nottingham Forest, they've got it all to do next year. Now with Chris Hughton getting the full season of charge, I think now would be the time where you need to judge if Nottingham Forest are going to progress under the management of someone who has got promoted many, many times as a Championship manager. Chris Hughton will now have a proper opportunity for next year. And then Queensborough Rangers end the season with an absolute high with a 3-1 victory over Luton Town. 9th they finished. 9th. In the start of the year, they were 19th. They rose 10 places. They picked up 15 wins out of their last 24 matches. That is unbelievable. That is promotion form. I'm telling you this. If Queensborough Rangers can continue this for next season, especially to the start, and they cannot get halted by injuries, easily Queensborough Rangers could be like Barnsley from this year and get into the top 6. They scored first, actually. It was Charlie Austin who managed to get the goal. But it was a pretty close game, actually. Luton didn't give in, and actually they equalised just before the halftime whistle, which would have been a blow for Queensborough Rangers' part. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who I think has been Luton's best player this season, making it 1-1. But in the start of the second half, they really let their quality count, Queensborough Rangers, and it was Stefan Johansson that managed to wiggle in the space to get a goal to make it 2-1. And I'll be perfectly happy with that because I predicted 2-1. But in the final minute, whilst Naismith looked like that he tackled Elias Chair in the edge of the box, he manages to give it to Albert Odoma, no one marking him, to make it 3-1 to Queen's Park Rangers. It's a great end to the season, as I said, for Queen's Park Rangers. They've got all the potential to have a great season next year. As with Luton, once again, a great season for them. 12th place finish, considering the budget that they're working on. It's an absolutely unbelievable season. To get into the top half of the table in the Championship, unbelievable effort. Their highest Championship finish ever. But you've got to give Luton and Nathan Jones a lot of credit. To the penultimate game, Reading and Huddersfield draw out a 2-2 draw. I was so close getting this prediction right. I knew there would be a flurry of goals. And I knew that immediately when Josh Koroma scored first. It was from a fantastic free kick, actually, to make it 1-0 to Huddersfield Town. But Reading completely turned the game on its head when Michael Elise managed to score a penalty. And then minutes later, Yaku Mate made it 2-1. Poor defending, you would argue, on Huddersfield Town's part. But going into half-time 2-1, it was only a 1-goal margin. And actually in the second half, it was a bit disappointing. You know, we saw a flurry of goals in the first half. The second half wasn't as great as the first. But it had a dramatic finish. Huddersfield managed to snatch a point in the final kick of the game. Romani Edmonds-Green with the goal as well. So another player who I've not seen a lot of, a youthful player as well, and I'm happy he's been given the opportunity. And for him to get an equalising goal like that, that could do him well for his career, let me tell you. It's been a pretty disappointing season for Huddersfield. It was like a what-if season because they had a load of injuries, but at the same time, I do think the lack of experience under Carlos Corran has cost them as well. What do they do? They're in a bit of a predicament. Do they try and invest in the squad? Do they change the manager? Do they change approach? It's a very difficult scenario to be as a Huddersfield fan. As with Reading, disappointing, of course, that they did manage to make it to the top 6 for the fact they were first place in November. But it's a great improvement from last season. If they could just keep the players and keep a good mentality going into next season, then they surely would be a favourite for the Championship next year. And the final game of the Championship, Watford 2, Swansea 0. Ben Foster was back in goal, which made everyone happy, to be honest with you. And it was a very, I dare say, comfortable win for Watford. It was a game that I felt, lacked a little bit of action. In the first half especially, it was 0-0 at half-time. And I just think that both teams were a little bit below the pace at times. But Watford, showing why they were promoted from the Championship, showed off their quality eventually. Andre Gray managing to get the opening goal for Watford. But Isaac's success for the second, scoring the best goal in that entire game. The ball bounces 3 times and he catches it on the volley past Woodman to make it 2-0 to Watford. A great goal, a great technique. It's a great win for Watford. They managed to crack over 90 points as champions. Very close actually for overtaking the most amount of points won by a second place team. I think Brighton still hold the record as the most points won by a second place team, but they were close for beating that record, Watford. As with Swansea, they finished 4th place, meaning they've got to play Barnsley in the top 6. I'm really excited for the playoffs. I don't know about you. I'm really excited to see who's going to get the edge, because I don't think there's a clear favourite this year. So that wraps it up for today's reaction video for the final time. Here is what the championship table looks like. Norwich win with 97, Watford second with 91. Top 6 you've got Brentford, Swansea, Barnsley and Bournemouth. Then you get to the top half, Reading, Cardiff, QPR, fair play to them, Middlesbrough, Millwall and then Luton. Then to the teams higher in the lower mid-table, Preston, Stoke, Blackburn, Coventry, Forest. Then the teams who've survived relegation, Birmingham, Bristol City, Huddersfield and Derby by the skin of their teeth. And unfortunately, the 3 teams going down, Wycombe, Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday. Huge commiserations to Wycombe, Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday fans and the clubs in general. I hope all of you have got a strong chance of bouncing straight back in the championship. But that wraps it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure you do give this video a like. It tremendously helps, especially for the fact that I'm ill at the moment. Please subscribe to the channel. It would really make my day. It would help me right now. And please share my channel as well. All that would really make my day. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw any of this video. And as always, take care everyone.